This week on Stay in the Truck, we're going to preview college football week 12. So grab you a cold beverage and let's go. Welcome to Stay in the Truck, the ultimate podcast for sports enthusiasts and avid gamblers alike. Each week we'll provide you with invaluable insights, analysis, and tips to elevate your game. We can be found on all major podcast and social media outlets. See the show notes for details. Stick around to the end to hear this week's most boneheaded sports moments with our Stay in the Truck Awards. So let's jump right into this week's show. All right, boys, week 11 was a crazy week for college football. We had several ranked teams losing and several coaches losing their jobs. So let's jump right in.
Woo, there's a little bit to talk about, boys.
Bye-bye, Jimbo.
If you were involved in that game,
You just blow them out by 51-10 or something like that?
Yeah, 51-10.
his biggest win of the year.
So Texas A&M gets another win on the season, but they might have got an extra win by firing their coach as well.
Let's talk about the fuck you that Texas A&M pulled. Did y'all see what they did at halftime?
Did not.
At the halftime of the Texas A&M game, before they announced they were getting rid of Jimbo, the Texas A&M boosters went on the field and presented the school with a check donation for $160,470,000.
At halftime?
You said
halftime.
million?
$160,470,000.
Yeah. I mean,
And they knew he was gone already.
They knew he was going already, so they went out there, presented that check. Here's
Not
how
only
much
that,
we don't care to pay you.
They got
off.
rid of him, and they covered the new coach coming in as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, they presented a check as a big FU. Heads up, we don't care. We don't care about your buyout.
honest to God, man, I don't understand. Well, anyway, we'll talk about it in a few minutes.
I don't get it. I
don't get it.
All right, we'll come back to that. What did we get out of last week? Here's one thing I got out of it. Texas, Michigan, Florida State, and Oregon. They all keep winning, but they all were unimpressive wins. Or we're getting to the nitty-gritty, and the teams that are supposed to show out need to show out. And Alabama and Georgia, I know nobody wants to hear it.
Oh, no, they don't
Comes
hear it.
back to the SEC, but those two teams that are leading the charge in the SEC are the only two teams that seem to have really, truly gotten better throughout the year.
So I feel like we're going to, a year from now, November 15th, 2024, we're going to have the same conversation. Except bad news for everybody. Bama or Georgia, both of them is going to be in the playoff next year no matter what.
Yeah.
They're going to end up playing each other.
With 12 games, 100%.
Yeah. Let's just start about
12 teams.
Let's just start, Ohio State domination. Pulled the foot off the gas pedal, second half. There's 3 points total scored in the second half of the Ohio State-Michigan game. And that was a field goal by Ohio State in the third quarter. But they didn't need to score any more points. You know why? They were up 35-0 at halftime, or 35-3 at halftime. So they do what they're supposed to do. Georgia rolls the lane train right on out. Bless his heart. That 52-17 could have been a lot worse than that. Ole Miss scored 3 points in the second half.
So that win clinched Georgia the
SEC
East.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, I did leave out Ohio State, and that's in my next thing. The I said those guys didn't leave much to be desired.
Yeah.
But you had impressive wins by the Dogs and the Tide.
Yeah.
Missouri
looked good again.
Missouri looked phenomenal. It's buried Tennessee. LSU, it looks better. They're getting better throughout the year. Could Florida State beat LSU again?
Michigan went into Happy Valley and
Hard
kicked
to
Penn
say.
State's ass.
Without Coach Harbaugh, who, by the way, has anointed Michigan America's team.
That's right.
He's the Cowboys of NCAA, I guess.
I don't know if I'd call it an ass kicking though. I mean, that was a 24-15 game, and it was terrible. Like I fell asleep twice trying to watch the first half.
But look, so they don't even throw a single pass. In the second half, they run the ball 32 times. Yeah, they one pass,
They threw
pass
one
interference and
call
come back. So they
right, so
it doesn't
they
even
negated
count.
it. Right.
Ran the ball 32 consecutive times is what it will go down as.
Wow.
Yeah.
32 times in a row?
Big
Yeah, I
game
didn't realize
James
it.
Franklin goes down again. Now that's the one. Him and Jimbo, they ought to package them son of bitches up together and send them somewhere.
I think Penn State loves James Franklin.
listen, I know for a fact. I'm not going to say his name. There's a huge Penn State alum that listens to this. Okay, plays in the golf pools. Been playing in my golf pools for years. When I say huge, I'm talking about the man could probably buy the contract out himself. But I don't know if he cares that much. But now every time he plays in the golf pool, he names it Happy Valley, whatever. He's proud of his school.
Yeah.
Right.
But why would they put up with this mediocrity stuff? And how are they going to get any better? They fired the offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator had to fall on the sword. They fired him after the game Saturday. But what are they going to do?
Well, I think it's unfair to fire an offensive coordinator after you've had a really good year, got a freshman quarterback, and Michigan's got a good defense.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's an unfair. I think if they fire him after that game,
It was already in the works.
It was already in the works. It was personal. There was some beef.
Probably
Somebody
after the
didn't
Ohio
like
State
somebody.
game, that probably got somebody's attention.
Well,
right
may
there.
have, yeah. But this game wasn't the game that brought that on.
Going into next year for these guys, thinking about the teams that are coming over, USC, UCLA, and all that. Well, where's Penn State really going to end up? Are they? I mean, they could probably still be the third best over there.
Yeah.
Because who's going to be better than that? But are you happy being the third best? I mean, Georgia fans had to be third best for 40 years.
Yes, we did.
I mean, I don't. Anyway, I don't really care. I don't white out or whatever they have up there. And I also heard, which was the dumbest thing, if that game would have been played at night during the whiteout, it probably would have been a different ball game.
That's
I'm like,
the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
Crazy. There was no. I mean, that was without Coach Harbaugh. They walk in there and beat their brains in is what they did. So, anyway, Penn State, stay in the truck.
Well, we had everything you could ask for in that game. You had a lot of defense. You had a lot of boring offense. You had a coach with gator tears at the end, crying like a baby, dropping some 2 F-bombs and a shit bomb on live TV. So
More.
that was the most exciting part of that game.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Well, the game was bored enough. The Fox dude that was working the delay button was asleep.
He was like, screw it.
He didn't wake up after
He
halftime.
was like, screw it. Let's just let him say what he's going to say. Like,
I want to give a shout out to Jaden Daniels, though. First player in FBS history to record 350-plus pass yards and 200-plus rush yards in a single game.
that's unbelievable.
He's the Heisman winner.
Well, talking about padding stats.
Well, wait till this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
You think he still
Georgia
wins the
State.
Heisman with 3 losses?
Well, Lamar Jackson did. His numbers are way better than Lamar Jackson was.
He's definitely up there. I think Bo Nix.
Well, he's on
leader.
pace to beat his passing records, but he's nowhere close for his rushing yards.
Well, yeah, but I mean, total touchdowns.
Yeah, true.
Who's a better player? Who's a better player?
Lamar Jackson had like 1,600 yards that final year or something. It was something ridiculous.
Well, I think the only 2 folks that are in front of him right now is Bo Nix and then, was it McCarthy? J.J. McCarthy?
No. McCarthy's gone, man. They got Penix back up there, and
Well, I mean, if you can't trust your team to throw against Penn State and you hand the ball off 30 times in a row, like that tells you something. I don't know.
well, I tried to make this point several weeks ago when we were talking about Penix.
We don't listen to you.
I know, but Penix, anyway, I can't spoil that. I got a segment coming up for all that.
okay.
But anyway, on to Florida State, on to the Seminoles. Seminoles get them a big, God, I miss Bobby Bowden.
Another
Dadgum.
squeeze by another mediocre team though for Florida State.
The
They have made
rivalry
a
game,
year.
though.
They have made a full year of squeezing by mediocre teams,
Which is
except for the LSU game, which is still LSU's got. On one hand, they got the best offense you could
And the
even
worst
imagine,
defense
and the worst defense. So it's hard to even rate that game.
LSU's defense is probably worse than the worst defense in the ACC. I mean,
It's probably worse than the Georgia State defense that they're going to play. So,
But so if I'm a Georgia fan, or if Auburn was in y'all's situation right now, and my team was the number 1 team in the nation, and I know all I got to do is win out, and more than likely I'm going to get to play Florida State in the first round. Oh, I would be on cloud 9 because that means I'm automatically going to the national championship.
you would think so.
Yeah, there's no way. Florida State just can't. They're a good team, but they're not an elite team. Alabama would beat Florida State. They'd drum them.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama, like I said, they continue to get better. They rolled Kentucky this week. We had another Texas, another mediocre Texas just getting by. Quinn Ewers comes back. They managed to score 29 points and give up 20 in the fourth quarter and almost give up a comeback to TCU.
Well, they
lost a 4-6 TCU team.
Right. They lost a running back in the second half and only managed to put up 3 points. And Jonathan Brooks gone for the year. So Texas has got their hands full. And, I got that ticket on them to win the Big 12. So
and the TCU defense is awful.
Oh, they're worse. Their defense is worse than the one that played Georgia in the national championship.
It's unbelievable. So
Quinn Ewers announced he's coming back again next year, or at least supposedly. So we'll see how that affects.
He look like Morgan Wallen.
Minnie Payton. No,
He did last year when he had
he's got the mullet.
Kentucky waterfall.
His face doesn't look like him.
Yeah.
A couple of quick mentions. Oklahoma State, that was possibly the hottest team in football coming into this week, got absolutely just drum rolled by UCF 45-3 down in Florida.
The Gus Bus and the Bounce House bounced their ass back to Oklahoma State. That was a total.
Well, it's classic example of what happens coming off a big game. We've said it 100 times.
Up, and you can only go so. The balloon can only fill up so much.
The Bedlam game the week before.
Yep. It can only fill up. And every win before that, I mean, they were just rolling off all these wins, and then they had to go on the road. And you went down there and listen, as much as I crap on Gus, because he basically just quit on Auburn, and I'm not saying that was all his fault. A lot of that had to do with the jackasses that control the money over there.
How do you really feel?
Yeah. But he can't, listen, one thing about him, he's been in many big games. He's won many big games, and they were coming off the bye week, and they had their team ready to go, and when that clock started, they didn't stop. They put it on them, man. So
it was rough. It was a rough one.
I think Ollie Gordon, they held him in check too. He didn't have hardly anything. I mean, and that's a defense. I mean, that right there shows you the what they did in their off week automatically tells you right there exactly. They sat there. Gus had the game plan. They got the defense drawn up. Let's see, what did Ollie Gordon have? Because he had been rolling off 200 yards a game. He had 12 carries for 25 yards.
Boom.
2.1 to carry.
Kidding me, man. Meanwhile, John Reese Plumlee, 299 yards and 3 touchdowns. 96.4 QBR.
Crushing it.
Yeah. But now, again, the Oklahoma State defense is nothing we're going to sit here and write home about, but they had a good run, man. They had a good run.
They did. And they another game that we want to give a quick mention to is Kansas, man. Kansas comes off a win 2 weeks ago against Oklahoma, rolls into this game with Texas Tech
at home,
and had to try to come from behind, had a 13-point fourth quarter. That's the only quarter they scored in.
Yeah, they didn't score until the fourth quarter.
And that was with the third-string quarterback because the second-string quarterback got knocked out.
Yeah, so Kansas goes down, and
but they lost to Texas Tech, right?
Yep.
Texas Tech's 5-5 team. But if you'll think back to the third or fourth week of the season, Bodacious Bo, Bad Bo on the road Bo, took the Ducks down there
and squeezed out a 38-30 win. It was close.
Tyler Shook, the quarterback for Texas Tech, throws the interception at the end of the game while they were driving to win, blows the game and blows the cover all at the same time, and the Ducks walk out with a victory. So it's not a bad.
We were
Texas
watching
team.
that one live when that happened.
Yeah, it's not a bad Texas Tech team, but Kansas I thought was a little bit better than that. But hey, it's hard to win with your third stringer.
Yeah.
All right, finishing up with the Oregon Ducks versus the USC Trojans.
Yep, that was one of those late get-out games, and there was a lot of people that got put in the body bag because Oregon did not cover.
I didn't expect them to. I mean, I thought they would cover, but I knew it could be a close game. But I figured if it was going to be close, it was going to be 55-45 close. I did not think that this game would top out at 63 points.
Well, they gave up 13 points in the fourth quarter.
Well, they only scored 2 touchdowns in the second half against a god awful USC defense. If you asked me, if you said, all right, Oregon's got 22 points at halftime, what are they going to score in the second half? I'm like, shit, they're probably going to put up 40 in the second half.
Well, if you told me Bo Nix had 412 yards and 4 touchdowns, I'm going to think they scored more than 36 points.
Right. So I don't know what the holdup was. This game actually got kind of boring. I was trying to watch this game. I was excited to watch this game.
Yep.
And I just turned it off. I just couldn't do it. Couldn't sit through the rest of it. It got late. Of course, it started late. What time did it start? 10 o'clock or 10:30?
Oregon wins, and then the undefeated the undefeated Washington Huskies, leader of the Pac-12. They get by Utah.
Squeeze by.
Them. Should have been bigger than that, but the defensive back decides he wants to showboat before he gets to the end zone and drops the ball 3 yards short.
That's right.
So that game really could have been it could have been a 14 point instead of a 7 point.
42-28 game, but that was a pick six. Give me pick six.
Yep, give me. But my point was,
Stay in the truck.
Washington covers, but it could have been. It wasn't as close as 7 points, but
and that's Utah not being able to score and get first downs. I mean, I don't know.
They didn't score in the second half.
No,
Utah did not score in the second half of the football game.
At halftime, it was a football game.
Yeah,
but to Washington's credit, they played good defense against Oregon.
Yep.
They made some adjustments in this game. Came out, didn't give up any points. So, are we seeing a Washington team evolve and an Oregon team slow down?
I don't know. I don't know, man. Kalen DeBoer is a hell of a head coach.
I mean, I've been on that Oregon train all year.
Oh, yeah, no
I've been sitting here saying they're going to beat the shit out of Washington, and I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah, I still say Washington's fugazi.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Well, hey, we don't have to wait till they play Oregon.
No. We're going to find out
We're
this
going to find out this weekend. It depends on which DJ Ukulele shows up. If it's the one that throws it to the other team or the one that throws it to his own team.
Yep.
All right, so let's talk about this craziness we have going on with the coaches. A little bit of hokey pokey going on with some coaches, and now we need to figure out who's going to fill some of these positions.
Well, this is, NASCAR has silly season, right? Silly season in NASCAR starts around September, October. Guys lose rides, crew chiefs get fired, yada, yada, yada. Well, now we're seeing it in college, right? I don't even know how Sam Pittman still got a job, but he does for now. So
yeah, Jimbo comes out and mollywops Mississippi State 51-10. Meanwhile, halftime the boosters are dropping $160 million on Texas A&M, and out the door you go.
Sayonara.
So yeah, Jimbo was 45-25 in 6 seasons with the Aggies. They owed him over $77 million to be paid.
Okay, let's talk about this almost $76 million.
Whatever, yeah.
Did you know since 2022, the SEC
11 months ago,
the SEC has had to pay out or scheduled to pay out $146 million in contract buyouts.
Well, I know Auburn's on there.
Of course, Jimbo's half of it.
Yeah, Auburn's on there because Gus was the highest buyout until this.
And that don't even count the year or two before that when Big Ed O
That's right.
got bought out at LSU. Because his buyout was huge.
Oh, yeah, he just won the national championship.
So here's the breakdown for Jimbo. Within the first 60 days, he gets $19.4 million. Within 120 days, he gets $7.27 million. Mm-hmm. And then he gets $7.27 million from 2025 all the way through 2031.
All year. Just to fuck off.
Hey, guess what that comes out to? Over $26,000 a day.
To fuck off. Hey, if somebody wants me to fuck off for $26,000 a day, I'm your guy.
Hey, he needs to give half of that to Jameis Winston. That's the reason why he's got this thing. That's the reason why he got it anyway.
Right.
Yeah. But if those buyouts don't tell you that the SEC, man, you better come in and you better win, or we're going to get rid of your ass and move on to the next guy.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Like
you
no
better
matter
come
what.
in hot. Yeah.
So I was listening to some shows on speculation on who's going to take that job.
Yep.
I've heard all kinds of craziness. I've heard Deion Sanders.
Never.
Yeah.
I've heard Lane Kiffin.
Nope.
God, who else was it? Some crazy.
Dan Lanning, but he basically came out in a press conference and said there's no way he's leaving. So
And
I don't
Deion
think
did
he's
the
going.
same.
Dan Lanning just signed that extension last year for whatever it was, $40 million or something like that. So
Well, Jeff made a good point because I thought Deion too, but he said obviously his sons can't transfer again because you only got the one transfer rule.
Right.
So yeah, he's not going to go without his kids.
or Travis, he ain't leaving Travis behind.
Yeah, true. So yeah, I don't know who the real candidate there is.
You think Lane would leave Ole Miss for?
I don't think they want Lane.
I think Lane would go.
Oh yeah,
but I don't think.
Oh yeah, because he's already complained about that Ole Miss don't have
any money to spend.
Right,
yeah.
exactly. They don't play on the same ball field as these other guys, and he's right. They don't.
Yeah.
But I don't think they would go. I think I know y'all ain't gonna want to hear it, or nobody else. Urban Meyer.
Lee.
I'm telling you, man.
How does that guy still get jobs, though? I mean, the whole world knows he's a scumbag.
If they can get over what happened, I mean, I'm sure they can. You got Urban Meyer. You got Jeff Traylor, who coaches at UTSA. I don't know about him, but
They were talking about maybe Mike Norvell because of the lack of funds at Florida State. I think he was a Texas guy also. So I don't know.
But the Jeff Traylor is really interesting because he was a high school coaching legend in Texas. I mean, that's where he's from. You know, he's at UTSA now. He's a hell of a recruiter. He's an older guy too. You know, so that's one of the hot things. Kalen DeBoer at Washington, he's a hot name. But
Glenn Schumann.
Exactly what I was going to say. The problem with Glenn Schumann is, and I think he might go to Mississippi State before he goes to Texas A&M.
Why?
Well, I just don't know if Texas A&M is going to go after somebody who's never coached before. That's the only thing.
He's part of that coaching tree, though.
He is, but
and,
he's
and
never.
people around the country.
Well, I mean, I guess if
Where
Oregon
Dan-
can
you
take
know.
a chance on Dan Lanning, then I
Where
guess.
did Dan Lanning come from?
But
Where
Texas
did Kirby
A&M
come from? They all came from that Saban family tree.
Here's down there at Texas A&M though, like they're not playing in the Pac-12, they're playing in the SEC. I don't know if they would take a chance on having a guy who's never coached a game, but now he is from Texas. Glenn Schumann's from Texas, so he has roots out there.
I hope he doesn't go.
But I think
me
about
neither.
Jonathan Smith. See, I don't know the guy at Oregon State.
Well, he's. I don't think he's a West Coast all the time though.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it
that's
kinda
his
falls
alma
in
mater
that
right
same,
there, yeah.
Yeah, it falls in that same
Because
camp.
they talked about his name for when Mel Tucker got fired about him going to Michigan State. But
Yeah.
another name that people really and this might be top of the list, Mike Elko at Duke. He was the defensive coordinator.
He's killing it this year,
and
too.
he was the defensive coordinator out there for 4 years. He just left in 2020.
And he lost his starting quarterback, and he still had him competitive.
And he loves it out there, and apparently they love him too. So that is, he
What year
might
is Riley
be
Leonard?
a junior or a senior. But
I mean, does he have more eligibility?
well, I mean, they talked about him going pro, after this year anyway, but he might come back because of what happened.
But if his coach got a job at Texas A&M, was like, hey, you're coming with me.
All right, so I
'Cause
got.
he'd probably make more money at Texas A&M
oh yeah, then up there, yeah.
than going pro his
yeah.
first year.
Yeah.
I love the people who have come out and said, like, if you were Texas A&M, would you just call Kirby, like, knowing, kind of just laughing in the back of your head, like, hey, we got the money, and he'll probably say no, but let's just throw him a $20 million a year offer and see what happens.
Oh, I think you. I think you have to ask Kirby. You have to ask Saban, no matter what, and they're going to turn you away or whatever. But you got to ask.
Yeah, 100%.
Got to ask. But listen, the Texas A&M fans.
Send him an email to both of them. Hey, either one of you guys interested in $25 million a year?
But
Yeah.
the Texas A&M fans, fan base, and all that, they shouldn't be mad at Jimbo. You know who they should be mad at? LSU, because when Ed O left, everybody was like, "Oh God, they're coming after Jimbo," because that's Jimbo was offensive coordinator out there for years with Saban and all that. They thought they were going to go after him, and guess what? That's when they gave him that extension in 2020 and whatever it was 2021 when he signed that $95 million.
So that he didn't leave.
So he didn't go to LSU.
To LSU.
So don't be mad at Jimbo. Y'all be mad at LSU.
Well, you got two jobs opening up. You got Texas A&M, that's arguably a top 10 job in the country.
Should be. It
Yeah,
should be.
100%. With
My
the amount
God,
of
look at them kids.
booster
Now,
money they
whoever
got.
they get, they better hope he can recruit and whether they keep
Because
the
they
guy.
got the money to recruit.
Yes.
That's not going to be an issue. And then you got Mississippi State, who is
I mean,
Well,
They're
so
still-
that's a
Zach
good question.
Arnett.
Who do you think is a good Mississippi State candidate?
I don't really know.
Dan Mullen's coming back, baby.
You know who's a good Mississippi State candidate, and I don't have any names, but I meant like if you were going to draw an outline for it. If I'm going to Mississippi State, right, you're kind of you're the Kentucky of
Right.
the SEC West,
Yeah.
right? You stay competitive, but you usually get your ass kicked and finish about 500 every year, right? If I want to make a name for myself and I want to make a phone call, then I'm going to be Joe. What's the guy that was with LSU that went to
Joe
Brady.
Joe
Just
Brady.
got named.
Not him, but a Joe Brady type of guy.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody that's somewhere calling the plays, drawing up the offense of a high-powered offense somewhere that knows that he's got the kahunas to say, hey,
The moxie.
yeah, he's got the moxie,
Right.
he's got the
Brovada.
yeah, he's got all that to call up and say, hey, I know you don't know this, but I'm your fucking guy. And I'm the guy that's going to get you competitive. It's a great opportunity for somebody who's under the radar, who nobody's looking at, to pitch themselves and turn that team around. You don't have to be successful and win the West.
Oh, well,
I mean, they got too many teams over there to do
pod now, whatever pod they're going to be in.
But if you can come out 8-3, 8-4, 9-3, 8-4, and get them on the roll and get that offense rolling.
One of the guys that I heard, maybe Liberty's coach, Jamie Chadwell, they're 9-0 right now. Somebody like that who's having a really good season in other conferences.
James Madison's coach.
So
I feel like that Texas A&M would go after Chadwell.
Think so?
I mean, I'm sure Mississippi State will make the call, but I mean, this is a guy here that Jamie Chadwell, what he did at Coastal Carolina was off the charts, and now he's doing it again. They're undefeated.
Well, and I think he may be playing B, but I think they're going to go after the big dogs first. So it's going to be interesting, and I don't think we're done. I think silly season is just kicking off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, Boise State.
I agree.
Boise State fires Andy Avalos, linebacker for them. He's a top 30 in Boise State history. He's on their whatever hang the banner stuff or whatever they do. They fire him, and they got a chance to win the damn conference. I mean, they got a chance to win the Mountain West. They fire him. Brady Hoke. I just want to mention Brady Hoke. He's retiring. Former Michigan coach. He's at San Diego State now. He's going to retire, so San Diego State will be looking for a coach.
Well, so we know Bobo was not a great coach. At least his first season or two at Colorado State was okay, but after that he kind of fell off. I mean, do you think a successful offensive coordinator like that would be a candidate for something like this?
Not yet.
I don't think so.
He needs a couple more seasons, you think?
I think that Bobo, honestly, I think his dream would be to stay right where he's at and be successful. I think that he has had such an up and down, really kind of tumultuous career after leaving Georgia, to where like not only did he fail as a head coach, and we don't know the ins and outs of that program out there. They've never been a great program. No. So was he set up for failure? Did he ever really have a shot in the first place?
Win. Colorado State's hard to win out
and
there.
So he failed there, and then he went on to be
Auburn. He went to
back to be an offensive coordinator.
Well, yeah, and that was. And I feel bad for him about that because Brian Harson's a dick.
So he's working for Harson, who nobody likes.
Right.
Nobody who's
Jeff knows him personally.
Nobody has ever came out and said Brian Harson's a great guy. We're going to miss him. And
he quit. He left. He quit before the season.
Well, yeah, he quit.
I mean, I'm just saying. Good
quotes.
For him. He couldn't take it no more.
So
did Derek Mason, the defensive coordinator, the great former Vandy coach, and he was at Oklahoma State last year, defensive coordinator, and now he's calling games. He quit. Nobody guys can put up with that dude.
I think that Bobo has found his way home, and I think that probably this is the first time he had a good run with Mark. They were almost championship caliber for all those years, and now he's learning something in his career, 20-something year career now. He's learning how to be part of a championship program.
Got the best offense in the nation right now.
And I don't think that he's going to really think that he can go do that on his own somewhere.
Leaving as the offensive coordinator for Georgia to go to Mississippi that's a downgrade.
Right.
That's a downgrade. Yeah. I don't care coach or head coach in the SEC. No.
Yeah.
No.
He keeps doing what he's doing, and they keep winning, and Kirby will keep him right there. They won't make any changes, and he'll be happy, and he feels at home. Georgia, he's a Georgia boy. He was a former Georgia quarterback, so I don't think that he would be dumb enough to leave. I think that in his mind right now, the way this season's going, if you asked him, he would tell you, I want to retire from Georgia doing this same thing.
Don't let him win the national championship again.
So
he won't ever leave.
Yeah. So
and look, real quick, let's talk about UCLA because apparently Chip Kelly is
on the hot seat,
and he should be.
Does UCLA have the money to bring in the athletes?
No,
they
don't.
Like, has Chip Kelly? Is he getting is he doing the best you can with what he's got to work with?
Maybe, but what he did this year is, that's terrible. They don't have a quarterback, and he's supposed to be the guru,
the offensive genius.
Exactly. And I guess he's seeing the talent difference from where he was at Oregon to when he went to UCLA.
So is he on the list for Texas A&M?
I don't know. I
think you can't get fired from UCLA.
I think he'd be on Mississippi
A&M,
State's list before Texas
He'd
A&M.
definitely be on Mississippi State's list.
I think he'd
That'd
be
be some shit.
I think he'd be a good coach for Mississippi State, but I don't think that Texas A&M wants him.
It was kind of like the Mike Leach.
But at A&M, he'd have all those resources he had at Oregon. And when he had them at Oregon,
That's true.
Hey, I don't remember Oregon before Chip Kelly got there.
Yeah, right before Chip Kelly, that's when they start Mike Bellotti. That's, the early 2000s, and Bellotti coached them up and had them rolling. And then, Chip Kelly took over. I think Bellotti went to be the AD over there. And then Chip Kelly took over. And
I mean, he put them on that next level. He put them in the conversation. Growing up, I don't remember. I mean, they might have been, but when I was a kid, I don't remember all through the 90s ever seeing Oregon in a top 10,
No. And if they lose to Southern Cal this week, that's probably it. He's probably done.
Yeah.
He might be done either way.
He might be done either way, but if they lose this weekend, then you can pretty much.
But unlike his brother, I've always kind of liked Chip. So.
All right, so let's get into the college football playoff rankings.
Ooh, how about them dogs? I don't like being number one. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Top. Yeah, I don't either.
So
I like
that
some
was like the
bulletin
really-
board material.
That was the only change, right? They jumped Ohio State and everything else stayed the same. Is that right? Or did something-
Iowa made a change, but yeah, top four. Yes, that was the only change in the top four.
Ohio State,
There
Michigan,
was some
Florida
movement
State.
down on the bottom end, but
I'll tell you who surprised me was Louisville. Just kind of squeaked in the top 10, kind of flying under the radar.
They shouldn't have lost to Pitt.
yeah, they would be 10-0 right now.
Lost a damn Pitt. After you beat Notre Dame,
Got a huge
by
matchup
the
versus
way-
Miami this week.
we had Pitt that night. It's good.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about one thing that I think is interesting about the CFP. Okay, obviously, we know the dogs. They have a road to get there, and it's going to come down to the SEC championship and the Alabama Roll Tide coming to town. Nick Saban, often referred to as Kirby's daddy, but Kirby's hung in there. He's got the W's under
Young
his belt.
Padawan.
This is not going to be a year that two teams from the SEC go.
No.
There's too much talent. So what I think is interesting about this CFP right now is the fact that Georgia's got their road. They got to beat Alabama to get there, and if Alabama beats Georgia, they're probably in. So there's not going to be two teams from the SEC unless, if you're an SEC fan, you need to be rooting for Louisville to upset Florida State in the ACC championship game, and you need to be rooting for Oregon State this weekend against Washington. Because if those two teams go down, they're automatically out of the picture, especially if Washington somehow, after losing to Oregon State, beats Oregon.
Yep.
Then
Then
you're
you
going to
got
have
two lost teams.
Then you're going to have two lost teams, and now you're going to have probably, would that put you in a situation where does Texas move up the ladder? Or do you have Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, and Alabama in the top four? There's so many crazy scenarios right now. It's so fun to try to talk about all the different ways it can unfold.
So let me tell you, the craziest scenario right now is the Big 12. So you got Texas sitting out there leading it, but then you have a four-way tie for second place right now. So the opponent, if Texas wins out, right, which is going to be tough because they still got to play Texas Tech. If they win out,
Hell, they might get beat this week, but yeah, go ahead.
I mean, there's a possibility.
Iowa State.
Right. Well, that's two tough games, right? Both of them are in conference. All the other teams would be playing each other over the next 2 weeks. It was so convoluted that the Big 12 is meeting this week, I think it was today, just to confirm on the process to determine a tiebreaker
They're going
for
to change the
second
rules.
place.
They're going to change the rules. They met yesterday. I think it was yesterday. They're going to change, and the reason why I know this is because I got a buddy that's got a ticket on, I think it was Kansas State to win the Big 12. And whatever they do, whatever the way it's looking, if Kansas State wins out, they would get a shot to play Texas.
Right.
But the way it's looking, the way the rule change, Kansas State's going to get screwed. And he's going to lose his money, basically, because they're not even going to go to the championship game. They're going to change the rules of the way the Big 12 is scored or whatever.
Partitioned out, yeah.
At the end of the season, they're going to do it. Now, how much damn sense does that make?
That sounds a little bit like we're going to put in here who we want to put in here.
Exactly.
Right.
So
And why would they not do that, though, like
Before the season kicks off.
Or you got Texas and Oklahoma leaving. Why wouldn't they try to do it to one of them? I guess Oklahoma's one of the 4, right?
Yep.
And I think the way it's going to look is they're going to try to put Oklahoma in. I think the way when the rules get you, something like that. Oklahoma's going to end up getting benefited by this. But look, Texas got to win out. That's all there is to it. They got to win out. And then I know I said last week there's no way you can screw them. They're getting screwed.
You think Texas gets screwed?
They're getting screwed.
Especially, they played like shit. I mean, they barely got into
especially-
We're
games.
talking about playoffs, though, not
If
Big 12
Bama beats
championship.
Georgia, Texas is definitely getting screwed. They're getting screwed.
If Texas wins their championship and Alabama wins the SEC, you think they put in Alabama over Texas, even though Texas beat Alabama in the regular season?
It'll either be Oregon or Washington, Michigan or Ohio State, SEC champion, and Texas is screwed.
Oh,
There's too
I
many.
don't think they do it. I think they
or
put Texas in over Alabama
You have
if they both got one loss.
you have a super close Ohio State Michigan game. Doesn't matter who wins because they're both undefeated.
Right.
You have a super close Georgia Alabama game with Alabama squeaking it out, 2-1 loss SEC teams. You get Washington losing to Oregon State, but then beating Oregon in the Pac-12
Pac-12
championship game. So that both of them have 2 losses.
No, but I said that earlier. I was wrong. Washington would only have 1 loss. They'd beat Oregon State. They're undefeated
They
right
would
now.
be a one-loss team, but their loss would be to Oregon State, who's not a Michigan
Nope.
or a Georgia
Nope.
or an OS.
Yeah, somebody's getting screwed.
There's a really weird scenario where 2 Big Ten teams and 2 SEC teams could end up
It's
in the
weird.
Final
Yeah,
Four.
it could happen. But look, Florida
It's not going to likely, but
Florida State sitting in the driver's seat. And remember when I texted y'all and told you I went ahead and put $100 on Florida State at 10-1 because I feel like I'm free popping? That's why. They got the best shot. It's going to take a huge upset from Louisville because Louisville is going to be a 7 or 8 point dog.
Yeah.
At least. So, I mean, Florida State, if I can just get them there. Then
Yeah, they got the easiest road to the college football playoff. I agree.
That's what I was trying to explain to you. It's crazy. We all agree Florida State, right? We all agree they're in, right?
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
they're
Yeah.
going in. So that leaves
As long
3
as they
spots.
win out.
Michigan, Oregon, whoever
No,
wins
Michigan
that.
or Ohio
I mean,
State.
Michigan, Ohio State. Sorry, they're in.
Alabama or Georgia.
Maybe. I really think if Alabama wins the SEC and Texas wins Big 12, then they're going to put Texas in over Alabama because they both got 1 loss and Texas beat Alabama.
And then the winner of the Pac-12.
I think you're nuts because they're seeing the evolution of the teams throughout the year. Here's the weirdest part about this list, right? You got Alabama down here at number 8, but the reality is they pretty much have a dead even 50-50 shot of being in.
They could be number 1 just as easy as Georgia.
Georgia,
could be.
yeah. The way they're playing, and if they continue to roll and they beat Georgia in the SEC championship game, and they don't start giving Jalen Milroe some credit and some Heisman talk after what he's done, how far he's come along, it's a shame. I'm not saying he should win. Because I was on him. I was on him like a dog when this season
I think
started.
we all were on him.
But I also recognize the growth, and I mean they're getting it done. They're getting it done, and I guarantee you one thing: Texas don't want to see this Alabama team right now.
They don't want to see Florida State.
Yeah.
They don't want to see nobody.
Yeah, the way they're playing right
No,
now.
they don't want to see nobody right now.
I mean, I'll tell you, they are definitely using the eye test because Washington is ranked lower than Florida State. Meanwhile, they got wins over 3 top 25 teams, Oregon, Arizona, and Utah. Meanwhile, Florida State has only beat number 15 LSU, but
Right.
Florida State's ranked ahead
And
of
their
Washington.
second best win would be a 4-loss Clemson team.
All right. Well, we have a special addition to the show this week. Jeff has put together the Stay in the Truck game show.
Game show Wednesday on Stay in the Truck.
Oh,
Oh, boy.
I'm scared.
All right, guys. So
Ding, 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 ding.
And I didn't want to give y'all any kind of hint because I didn't want anybody to do any research.
Is this multiple choice?
It can be whatever choice you want it to be. It can be multiple choice. This is Guess the Heisman candidate. Okay?
All right.
The first candidate, 68% completions, 3,500 passing yards, 30 total touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Bo Nix,
There was 2 games he had no touchdowns.
Michael Penix.
That's your Heisman favorite right now. You're going to tell me he's going to win the Heisman and there was 2 ball games he played in and didn't even throw a touchdown? Okay. He's ranked number 1 right now.
And all those yards come against that phenomenal Pac-12
yeah,
defensive lineup.
Here's your second candidate. 71.4% completion rate, 3,164 yards, 38 total touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's also rushed for 918
Jaden
yards.
Daniels.
Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
That's correct. Your third choice, 77.7 completion, 3,135 yards,
I know that guy.
34 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
His name is the first guy I guessed.
Bo Nix.
Bo Nix.
Here's the fourth guy, 64.1 completion, 2,734 yards, 27 total touchdowns, and 2 interceptions.
He might play at Florida State.
Jordan Travis. You are correct. Your next one, 72.2 completions, 3,222 yards, 21 total touchdowns, and 5 interceptions.
Ooh.
Carson Beck.
You are correct.
I thought he had 8 interceptions. I thought those this weekend. I was actually, when you said his yards, I almost said that's
Yeah.
Carson.
I was waiting for 4 or 5 interceptions because I knew he was right around there.
And a couple of them weren't his fault at all.
That one went through the cat's hands this week, didn't
Yeah,
it?
a couple of them this year have. Yeah.
Here
Bounced off
is
somebody.
your next choice, 67.9 completion rate, 3,249 yards, 40 total touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. And there was one game I played in and I had no touchdowns, no passing.
J.J. McCarthy.
Nope.
Whew, that's a tough one.
40 touchdowns.
40 total touchdowns.
That's
Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams. God, that's when you said 40 touchdowns should have been the giveaway.
So the way I just told that was just the quarterback. So I got some other ones I want to go through real quick. But so that's the way that the odds are for the quarterbacks. Penix 1, Daniels 2, Nix 3, Jordan Travis 4,
Carson Beck 5.
Caleb Williams. So my point to that was, you're going to tell me Michael Penix is going to win the Heisman and he played
Over
in 2
all
games
those-
and didn't throw no damn touchdowns? That's crap.
Fugazi.
Fugazi.
Hey, bring Michael Penix to the SEC and tell him to average 300 yards a game.
It never
Because
happened.
with a 77% completion rate. Because I know a guy that did this year.
Yeah.
And he ain't even in the top 4.
So now we're going
Or
to
5.
do guess the wide receiver Heisman candidates. You got four guys here, okay?
All right.
First one, he averages 17.8 yards a pass or a catch, 72 receptions on the year, 1,284 yards, and 10 total touchdowns. And he has 7 games of 100 yards.
Marvin Harris.
No.
I'm not just familiar with wide receivers. I got to be honest.
Malik Neighbors from LSU.
Yeah, he's been killing it.
Your second guy, 18 average yards on a catch, 59 receptions, 1,063 yards, 13 total touchdowns, 12 catching, 1 rushing. He has 7 games of 100 or more yards.
Marvin Harrison.
Correct.
Junior.
And against Rutgers, he had 4 catches for 80 yards, and against
he
Notre
showed
Dame,
out.
he had 25 yards. He's favored over Malik Neighbors. Okay,
and he's not as good.
hell no. Your next guy,
But he's going to get drafted ahead of him.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
who wouldn't though? Let's be honest.
Maserati Marv, they're going to draft him over him. Yeah. Your next guy averages 18.2 yards catch.
Well, hold on. I am hoping that at the combine that Neighbors just blows him out of the damn water, though.
Yeah.
Just for shits and giggles.
Here's
Well-
your little LSU receiver trivia, though. Saw a stat today. Justin Jefferson,
Yeah,
the Vikings this year. You know, he's been hurt.
yeah,
He's been on the IR for the last 5
With
weeks.
Justin Jefferson this year, the Vikings are 1-4.
yeah.
Without him, 5-0. So that goes to tell you, like when somebody is even though he's fantastic, when a team starts depending on someone so much that they do everything that revolves around him and stop spreading the ball out and making it a full team effort, that's what happens. Defense is keying on your main guy, and you know.
Your third choice here, you got a guy that averages 18.2 yards a catch. He's got 60 receptions, 1,093 yards, 11 total touchdowns. He has 6 games of 100 more yards receiving. Tony Franklin from Oregon.
Damn it.
Tony Franklin.
Oregon. Yes, sir. He has 1 less receiving touchdown to Marvin Harris and more yards.
I tell you, I haven't watched him. He hasn't stood out to me that much when I watch their games because I don't. They're all they got a lot of good receivers at Oregon.
Yeah, but this cat here, he averages more yards a catch. He has 1 more reception. He has more yards receiving, and he's only 1 receiving touchdown behind him. and he's not even getting talked about.
No mention.
No. Your last candidate here, guy here, he averages 18 yards of reception. He has 51 receptions, 918 yards, and 13 touchdowns. He has 5 games of 120 more yards.
A.D. Mitchell.
No.
Yep, I don't know.
I ain't got it. I don't know.
Brian Thomas, the other LSU receiver.
No shit.
He got all
They're
those
killing
during
it.
Army. During the Army
The
game.
Jamar Chase Jefferson special all over again there at LSU.
The point to that exercise was there's no way Marvin Harrison should be the 4th. He's favored 4th overall to win the Heisman. That is a crop.
And he's not even in the top 4 of receivers, really.
No.
But he's
not.
at Ohio State.
I'm
And the
tired.
Ohio State Buckeye bias is fucking real.
Yes.
Like, it's unbelievable. Like, they've been rated, like, they haven't beat Michigan in 2 years. Their quarterback is not as good. The Ohio State bias is unbelievable.
And they're giving them the Notre Dame and the Penn State win. That's why they're
Herb Street,
Yeah,
I'm blaming this
yeah.
on you.
This is the worst roundup of Heisman candidates I've seen in a few years. There's really no like just standout stellar guy that's
if
clearing
Daniels
away.
didn't have 3 losses,
Yes, agreed.
but you know
If they were 9-1,
when you got a defense that's 100 and whatever they are in the nation, I mean, my God,
He has played well, and he honestly he deserves it more so because their defense is so bad. He's truly the only reason that they are winning games. Like
Yeah.
it's not like he's playing part of a team aspect.
No.
He is the main reason, the only reason that they are winning football games, and he's the clear. Here's how you can say it. He's the clear MVP of college
Right,
football.
MVP, yeah.
If you say who's the best player that helped their team the most.
Yep.
Right? There's no contest. So if you want to relate the Heisman in terms of the MVP, there's not a better player to a team than he is to LSU.
Look,
More important to a team.
his completion rate's better than Penix. Now he's lacking right about 400 yards passing, but he's got 8 more touchdowns than Penix. He only has 4 interceptions. Penix has 7, and he's rushed for 918 yards.
All right, guys. So let's talk about the upcoming big games. There's a couple games that have impact on, championship games for their conference, and a couple of them have some impact on whether or not they make it to the playoffs. But just looking at the week as a whole, I mean, there's not any big top-ranked teams that are placing each other this week. So in my mind, it's kind of a vanilla week, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I'm a Georgia fan, and I love to go to Knoxville and beat their ass.
Go Vols in Neyland Stadium.
Nailing.
boo.
Well, I mean, can 100,000 people dressed in orange and white screaming their heads off, do they have a chance against the red and black at home this weekend?
They wear a lot of overalls, them checkered overalls.
Checkered
up there.
overalls.
I sure as heck hope not. We got lucky with the 3:30 kick, and Georgia fans travel well, so it'll probably be 70% Tennessee, 30% Georgia fans there, but we shall see. Should be an easy game.
70
Fingers
degrees,
crossed.
nice weather. It's going to be a good weekend.
Georgia was easily able to beat Missouri, and Missouri easily beat Tennessee. So naturally, I would hope that Georgia should be able to beat Tennessee.
I like your line of logic there, T. That is good.
I just think Josh Heupel's a scared little twerp when he thinks about Kirby coming to town.
Well, the only coach that beats Kirby is champion of life,
And Kirby. Every now and then.
Butch
He's-
Jones. And you know who quarterbacked that game for Tennessee?
Dobbs.
Yep. And that was when they threw that fluky Hail Mary
Yeah.
deal at the end of the game. Georgia went up, and then there was seconds left, and they did all that crazy. It's the only time he lost since he's been there.
So we've already talked about the Big 12 mess and so many second place teams fighting for the Big 12 championship right now. But Texas has Iowa State to start that off this week. And then there's 3 other Big 12 games to kind of work through that. So we don't need to get into all of them right now.
Yeah, Louisville's going to Miami. They can clinch the ACC championship game versus Florida State if they win this week versus Miami.
I want to see Louisville go out on a roll because I want their heads high when they walk into Florida State, and I want them to upset some Seminoles. I really do. So go Louisville this week. That's what we're cheering for.
Yep.
Washington, Oregon State. This game can have some major implications on that CFP.
You seen a 5-point line flip?
I don't know it's been a while since I've seen a line move 5 points.
I mean, everybody I hear is on Oregon State, so that's a red alert right there. I like them too.
Do you?
I like him too.
I just can't ever get behind DJ Ukulele,
He's only got 4 interceptions.
which is unbelievable because it seemed like he threw 4 a quarter when he was at Clemson.
But look,
You should have put him in the quiz. We'd have never got it.
no.
Oh my
Brock
God, his
Bowers.
stats.
So going to Corvallis is a problem for any team. Playing in that Reser Stadium is a problem for any team. Not to mention, it's going to be cold. It's probably going to be wet, and it's at night. And Washington has been on the brink of disaster
Half a dozen times,
Yes.
3 times at least.
at least 3 times.
So I'm rooting for Oregon State. All that shit I talked about you over the last 4 months, DJ, I take it all back. I love you, brother. You got it in you. You can do this. Let's knock them on out because I'm looking at worst case scenario for them dogs, right? And I'm trying to make sure that we can figure out a way that win or lose that SEC championship game, we can get them in there. So,
And look, it's not a look-ahead game for Oregon State either, even though they do play Oregon next week in the Civil War. They're going to be focused on this team coming in. They're going to be focused on knocking off the Pac-12 leader right now, the undefeated Washington Huskies. They got
nothing to lose.
Yeah, nothing to lose.
When you got a team that's got nothing to lose, that's
Dangerous.
when it's always dangerous. So another thing I'm excited about, we don't have to talk about it because it's not going to be much of a game, I don't think, but I'm excited to see Florida go to Missouri and get their ass kicked just because I love to watch Florida get their ass kicked. And
one game I'm kind of interested in is this North Carolina Clemson game. How cool would it be if North Carolina just wipes the damn table with Clemson?
You better buy that Clemson stock. Didn't you hear him, Dabo?
if they're stock, you better buy us now.
What's your thoughts, Jeff?
They're on the up and up.
Problem is, North Carolina has, again, they forgot how to play defense again. So I think that's why you see Clemson as a 6.5 or 7-point favorite.
It's in Death Valley, so that's never a good thing.
No, it's never a good thing. They've obviously turned around whatever they had going on, even without Jordan Shipley. He's playing, but Phil Maffa, the running back, is he could play running back for a lot of teams. He's turned it on in the last couple of weeks. I honestly think Clemson's going to handle their business.
I do too, because here's what I've learned this year. Drake May still got good. He's got over 3,100 yards, 20-something touchdowns, like 21 touchdowns and 6 picks. So he's had a good, solid year.
Yep.
But we've learned that he is not that natural-born killer instinct winner. Like when the game's on the line, if the ball's in his hands, Clemson's going to win the game.
Yeah.
So if Clemson's up by a touchdown and North Carolina's got the ball with 3 minutes left, then Clemson's going to win that game. He doesn't have that ability to me to just drive the dagger.
Nope.
All right, so I want to close this section out with a mention to our Georgia Southern University Eagles.
If
they beat Old Dominion this week, they will be 6-0 at home. Pretty good season for Georgia Southern. Unfortunately, they have only one away win, putting them at 6-4 on the season. So,
Man, that's tough. That's tough.
Boys do not travel well.
Well, look, before we close it out, there was one thing that I wanted to, actually 2 things, real quick for our tech buddies. Can somebody please tell me what the hell y'all are doing? How in the hell can you be, that crap last week was ridiculous again.
It was an odd week.
I understand.
They'll win this week.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. But you cannot just listen. What's the offensive coordinator? Buster Onley or whatever his name is, the one they got from Georgia, right? Probably it might be the best hire in this past offseason because he really has turned that offense around out there. And Brent Key's doing all he can, but they got to be more consistent. If you want to be taken seriously, you got to be more consistent. Okay, so that's that. The other thing, Georgia Southern, they lost to Marshall last week, right?
Yep.
Do you know who the quarterback was for Marshall that won the game? Do you guys remember Chad Pennington?
Oh, yeah.
Randy Moss was
Randy
his
Moss,
receiver.
baby.
It was Chad Pennington's son.
Nice.
So I think that stuff's cool when you see older guys like that, and then you got their kids coming in playing. He pulled the upset down there. I don't really know if it was upset, but they got the win.
All right, guys, let's move on to see how we did with our weekly picks.
I won't go into detail. I went 4-4. It was an off week for me. That brings me to 44-34.
Kicking ass.
Kicking
All
ass.
right. I was 3-1 last week. Bama covered. Mizzou whipped up University of Tennessee. Georgia whipped ass versus Ole Miss. And Kansas did not cover. They actually lost to Texas Tech. So 3-1 last week. That brings me to 18-8 on the year, or 69%er, baby.
We all went with Kansas.
I ended up winning 2 and losing 1. The game I lost was UFC coming in there and destroying Oklahoma State.
I was 3-3 on the regular picks, and I had 2 blowouts of the week, and they both won. James Madison -26 destroyed them, and Ohio State held on 38-35. They were 30
Barely holding on. So you were 5-3 on the week.
Yeah, I guess basically.
Well, listen to your blowout picks. You done well on those.
You're doing fine.
Yeah.
That's
Just
right.
your regular picks.
Regular picks struggle.
All right, let's jump into picks this week. I'll lead us off. I got.
Well, before you lead us off, let me just throw this out. I don't
Not
wanna,
so
I don't wanna
fast,
change
my
anybody's
friend.
mind. But last week we hit on a certain betting topic about spots, right? About teams coming off letdowns, teams getting high.
Yeah.
We talked about that. So I got a couple of them highlighted. The first one is Michigan going to Maryland. Okay. The only reason I even got this highlighted is the way everybody saw the end of the game. Everybody saw the players. Everybody saw the coach, right? Can they stay focused? Now, they're going to win the game. They're going to win the game. Can they stay focused enough to cover 19.5? That's what you got to ask yourself. Or do they really care? Or are they going to go out in the second half against a terrible Maryland team and run the ball another 32 times and only win by 17? So that's just something to think about. Okay? Second game, Rutgers at Penn State. This one for Penn State, they always beat up on the bad teams. Rutgers is really not a bad team, okay? And they just fired the offensive coordinator. Who's going to take over? And I mean, how good is that offense? When they play anybody with any kind of talent on defense, they have problems, okay? So just think about they're a 20.5-point favorite. Are you comfortable laying 3 touchdowns with Penn State? I don't know. The next one, Baylor at TCU. Baylor is god-awful, okay? God-awful. TCU's laying, it started at 14, now they're laying 13. The reason why I bring this up, we talked about those teams playing each other in these physical matchups. TCU took Texas to the limit last week and lost the game. How are they going to get up to play Baylor? I don't care if it's in state or not. Baylor is not Texas. So ask yourself, are you comfortable laying 2 touchdowns with TCU? The next one, and this is a fun spot here. UNLV is going to play Air Force. Air Force has lost their last 2 games. They got blown out by Hawaii, and they got blown out by, I think it was Fresno State, just got the brakes beat off of them. Okay? UNLV is this is the best season they've had in.
Army beat them.
Yeah, Army, that's right, yeah. Army beat Air Force, that's right. I'm talking about, they only scored 3 points.
28-3 or something like that, yeah. So
UNLV, though, the line come out at 5, it's down to 3, so they're taking money on UNLV. UNLV, if they get this game right here, they might play for the championship in the Mountain West. I don't know if they've ever done that. So be leery of that if you're back in Air Force. I got Washington going to Oregon State. We talked about that, about going to Corvallis. This Washington team's been struggling, my on and off here and there. It's hard to win at Oregon State. But the line flipped, okay? You could have had Oregon State plus 2.5. Now you got to lay 2.5. And that tells you if all that money's coming in, everybody is on one side. Now, I like Oregon State too, okay? But when everybody's going one way, we throw it up, then red alerts. Just be leery. Just be leery of it. Florida at Missouri. Now, I'm like Chris. Do I think Missouri's going to beat the brakes off of them? I do. But something that we didn't talk about, that was a get-back game for Eli Drinkwitz in Missouri last year because Tennessee curb stomped them the year before. Mm-hmm. And they were coming off the loss to Georgia, so they were highly focused on Tennessee coming in, and they dominated that game. Can they get up to play a Florida team? They're laying 11 points, but they don't have to win by 11. What if they win by 6 or 7? That's fine too, right? So to be leery about that. And I got one more. Hawaii is going to play Wyoming, okay? The only reason I mentioned is Wyoming's 13-point favorite. The game is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a body clock game for Hawaii. And Hawaii's coming off a huge win off of Air Force. They got to travel from the islands, going to Laramie to play. Now, they called a break. It's in the afternoon, but that's a body clock part of it, and the weather's going to be good. But they're high on Hawaii now for what they did to Air Force. It's hard to beat Wyoming at home, so just be careful about that.
All right, this week I've got Georgia versus Tennessee. Georgia's 10-point favorite. I like Georgia to cover after what Georgia did to Mizzou and how Mizzou beat UT 36-7. I think Georgia is going to be okay here. We've been talking a lot about the Washington-Oregon State game. I'm going to take Washington in the points. They beat both USC and Oregon, both in their own stadiums, so I don't think this is going to be any different in Corvallis. Washington actually has on a 17-win streak right now, so I think they're going to increase that. And then Florida versus Mizzou. Florida's a mess right now, and Missouri's a different team when they play at home. And I'm going to take Missouri to cover that minus 11.5.
I like it. I'll play right off of you, Tony, because I've got those same 3 games. Georgia beating Tennessee, Washington over Oregon State, and Mizzou giving up 11 and beating Florida. I've also got Colorado. I'm going to take the 5 points over Washington State.
You're running out of games, brother.
This is my last game to get my $100, so please, Neon Dion, come on, baby. I'm going to take Louisville over Miami in a pick'em game. I think Louisville is pumped up and ready to get in that ACC championship versus Florida State. And my last game I'm going to take this week is Clemson. I'm going to give up the 6.5, and I think they topple North Carolina. I think I'm buying Dabo's stock because he told me to. So
Right.
I am calling red alert and putting a big line through my Missouri covers. And I am going to stay off of that game now. I appreciate y'all's input. I tell you what, I'm against Jeff a little bit. I think Michigan is on an FU train right now with everything going on. I think Harbaugh has got those guys focused on proving to the world that they're a real team and that they weren't winning because of some sign-stealing bullshit.
Yeah, he won't be there to see it.
I think that they're going to roll into Maryland and just absolutely beat that ass. I don't think it's really going to be a close game. So I'm taking Michigan by 19, and I'm taking the over 50.5. I think we're going to have a 40-41, 38, 39, 40, 41 score out of Michigan, and that's going to put Maryland probably getting a couple touchdowns, maybe touchdown, a couple field goals. So
hell, Michigan might not pass a single time in this game.
I got 40-13, Michigan covering the 50.5.
Yeah, your biggest opponent might be the clock.
If they run the ball the whole time. Well, the
It might
clock
be the
runs
clock.
anyway, though.
It's not going to be Maryland.
The clock runs anyway. All
No,
right.
I'm just talking about how many possessions can they get.
Right. That Utah-Arizona game, I know they're playing at Arizona, but listen, Arizona had a barn burner last week with
Tough game.
with Colorado. And they're coming off of that. They've been on a roll. I said they were the best 3-3 team in football. They beat 3 ranked teams, and they beat Colorado. Hey, there's a reason they were 3-3. These teams can get up and get going, but I think that their run is over. So I'm going to take Utah at +1 at Arizona. And then I got Iowa -3. I'm going to take them to cover in that 9-0 game that they're going to play.
There you go.
And as always, what do we do with Iowa?
Under.
That's right, baby.
It's never over until it's under.
That's right. So then we got Ohio State at Minnesota, -27.5. I think they're just going to just I was going to say some terrible things right there that probably aren't appropriate. But I got Ohio State covering the -27.5 and over 48.5. Hell, I think they're going to just about score 48 by themselves.
I feel like it's the same thing we talked about last week. He's not going to stop scoring. I was wrong, though. He just called the dogs off. I have no idea what happened, or I mean,
relationships.
I guess,
it gets to a point where you could beat somebody 70-0. I don't think he's going to feel that way about Minnesota, and I think that he's going to go in there and try to rip a new one. So, Texas at Iowa State. I'm going to take Texas minus the 7.5. I think Quinn Ewers needs to get out there and prove. I think he heard that he did not look great last week, and they know that if they don't go out and show out this week, if they don't score as much as they can and have a dominant win, they know that they're sitting on the bubble of that CFP. So they're going to have to. I think they're going to have to foot on the gas this week. And then I got LSU hosting Georgia State, baby.
Ooh.
My blowout of the week, which is obvious, I think, anyway. But the line was pretty stiff on that one.
31 and a half.
So I'm going to stay off the line because LSU's defense is so terrible.
Yep.
I'm going over 71 and a half because I think that LSU is going to score damn near 60. So if they get in the mid-50s, and they're going to give up points, Georgia State's liable to score 17-20. So I'm going 57-17 with the over.
I'm going to take Louisville at a pick. And I just think they're better than Miami. I think their head coach is better. I just think they're a better team than Miami. I mean, it's a pick'em game. That's fine. I'll roll in there. And Miami's 1-6 at home in conference games.
Solid.
I mean, yeah, I'll take Louisville. Tyler Van Dyke, he hasn't thrown a touchdown since October the 14th, but he's thrown 6 picks since then. He didn't even get to start last week, but he had to come in because Emory Williams tore his arm, left shoulder up or whatever. So I like Louisville. I like what they're doing. I'll take Louisville at a pick. I'm going to take Arizona State plus 23.5 against Oregon. Oregon is 8-15 before they play Oregon State against the spread. On the road, they're 1-6 before they play Oregon State, which all goes to the look-ahead spot, right? Arizona State as an underdog of 14 or more points is 11-3-1 in their last 15 games. Against a top 10 opponent, Arizona State's 8-2 against the spread. And the biggest thing here, Kenny Dillingham was the offensive coordinator last year for Oregon. Dan Lanning, he won't step on his throat. He won't do it.
That's his guy.
He won't. And I'm getting 23.5. I think that's fair.
Yeah, 3 touchdown lead will be fine.
I think that's fine. I do not think. I mean, and look, Kenny Dillingham and Bo Nix they're tight. Bo hated to see him go.
Yeah,
he turned Bo's career around. I
Put
mean,
him
he
on
turned
the map.
He turned it all around last year.
I mean, Auburn Bo Nix, was he in the Heisman conversation?
No.
Fuck no.
No. So I'm gonna take I'll take Arizona State plus 23.5 there. I'm gonna take Kentucky -1 against South Carolina. They're 8-2 against South Carolina in the last 10 games against the spread. As a road favorite, 7 points or less. They're 7-3 against the spread. And I just don't think South Carolina's that good. I just don't. I'm not saying Kentucky's great, but I think they're good enough.
They're playing at South Carolina, right?
Yeah, they're playing at South Carolina. But what defense does South Carolina have? Give
None.
the ball to Ray Davis and let him go. I'll take them -1. I think that's I'll take that. I'm gonna go Iowa State plus 7.5. We're gonna go head to head on this one, Chris.
All right.
You play against Texas after playing TCU. Texas is 2-8 against the spread. Texas has a favorite in their last 10 games, 3-7 against the spread. They also lost their running back, Jonathan Brooks. Huge loss. In their last 5 games, Texas has only covered 1.
Yeah, they're due.
Yeah. Iowa State as an underdog is 7 or more points, 8-2 against the spread in the last 10 games.
Ooh.
They won 4 out of 5 games, and they've covered 4 out of 5 games.
The odds are against me.
But, hey, I can see Texas can win by a touchdown. That'll be all right. I'll take the 7.5 for Iowa State. I'm going to lay the points with LSU.
All right.
And I'm going to take the over. I'm just going to cover myself in that one.
Yeah.
And I had to go back and forth with this. Georgia State as an underdog is 7 or more points, or 10-14 against the spread. As an underdog with 20 or more points, they're 2-5. If they're on a losing streak of 3 or more games, they're 2-5. Their last 3 games they played, Georgia Southern beat them 44-27. James Madison beat them 42-14, and Appalachian State beat them 42-14.
If they gave up 40 to those guys,
Yes.
they're going to give up 60.
LSU at home versus non-ranked opponents, 8-1 against the spread in their last 9 games. As a favorite of 14 or more points, 7-1. And at Tiger Stadium in their last 15 games, they're 11-3-1 against the spread.
Wow.
So, my blowout of the week, and I got 2 of them. My first one, them god dang War Eagles, -24 against New Mexico State. New Mexico State versus Power 5 opponents, 2-8 against the spread in their last 10 games. As an underdog with 20 or more points, 17-33. Auburn playing at Jordan-Hare in November, 11-4 against the spread. And after they play Arkansas, they're 16-5-2 in their last 23 games against the spread. Auburn's won the last 3, and they covered all 3, and they beat Arkansas State 48-10 last week. And above all that, Hugh Freeze has taken over the offense. Basically has told Phil Marshall, hey, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. And they look like a whole total different team.
I got a live update 6 minutes ago. ESPN. Sorry to interrupt your bit.
Hugh Freeze quit.
The NCAA rejected James Madison's appeal to postseason.
They could have at least waited till after this weekend.
Right? Let them play the game. Don't do it 2 games. Yeah. And ESPN's going. You know, it's going to be game day there. What a
NCAA suck. That's my
what a shit move.
My last one, I'm going to take my blowout of the week, my second blowout of the week. I'm going to lay the 11.5 with Georgia. I got 11.5, whatever it is. When I did my spreadsheet here, it was 11.5. It might be 11 now. I don't know. But I'm going to lay the points. Got a couple of leans. I lean Nebraska and Wisconsin under 37.5. I lean Michigan, and I lean Michigan under 50. Wanted to take the SMU minus 9.5 against Memphis, but I kind of laid off. I like Ball State minus 13 to beat Kent State. I like Wyoming minus 13.5 over Hawaii. I like Utah and Arizona under 45. Those are not official yet. We'll see how it goes by the time they get here.
All right, let's move on to this week's Stay in the Truck.
My Stay in the Truck, Sam Pittman.
Oof.
And the Arkansas Razorbacks. I almost mentioned it when you brought him up earlier, saying that he's got to be coming soon. But for those of you who missed it, Sam Pittman states he had no idea there was a TV
Oh, God, I heard this. Yes.
in the locker room, and his team, while they were in the middle of an ass whipping, a 48-10 loss to Auburn, was in the locker room at halftime watching the Polar Express.
No, who in the right mind? Why would you even? What are you doing? I mean, what are you doing?
It's a great movie.
I've never seen it, but I mean, I damn sure ain't gonna watch it at halftime when I'm getting my ass.
It's also a cartoon.
Yeah, it is a cartoon.
They were basically watching cartoons in the locker room at halftime during a schlacking. So anyway, Sam Pittman, stay in the truck.
Stay in the truck.
Stay in the truck.
All right, my stay in the truck this week goes out to Mr. Deshaun Watson. He is now out for the year. He has apparently fractured his throwing shoulder. The guy got a $230 million fully guaranteed contract. This is just the Browns doing Browns things. They always fall on bad luck. This one's not really their fault, but still, somehow it always shits on the Browns. He's now played in 12 games over 2 seasons. That's $7.7 million per game. And, right after they beat the Baltimore Ravens, it looks like the Browns are headed down another deep, dark hole. So, Deshaun Watson, stay in the truck.
Stay in the truck. And on top of that, those Texans are actually looking pretty damn good with C.J. Stroud. And they got 3 first-round draft picks to still use that those good old Clevey Browns gave up with that $230 million.
All right, my Stay in the Truck award goes out to number 11 on the Washington Huskies defensive linebacker Alfonso Tuputala. So he's getting to live out the ultimate dream of any defensive player by pulling off the elusive pick 6. Except he didn't. After his interception, Tuputala returns the ball 82 yards and decides to start his touchdown celebration too early, dropping the ball on the 1-yard line. A Utah defensive player had the awareness to jump on the loose ball on the 1-yard line, resulting in a fumble and the ball going back to Utah. With 55 seconds left in the third quarter, the Utah Utes were losing 33-28. This could easily have been a pivotal play in the game. Washington ultimately converted this into a safety, and Utah never scored again in the game, resulting in a loss. This also resulted in Washington not covering. So, Alfonso Tuputala, stay in the truck.
Stay in the truck.
Stay in the truck.
I'm gonna go ahead and go with Sharon Moore, Michigan interim coach. I didn't know that Harbaugh died. Okay, I didn't know he passed away. So my apologies. But are you kidding me, man? Come on, dude.
It was emotional,
I
man.
understand. But listen, come on. Above all, they did it all to themselves anyway. However it all shakes out. They did it all to themselves. Come on. Get up. You just won the game. It's fine. If you're gonna do that, do it in the locker room or whatever. Don't do it out there. I don't like that. I think it was over the top. Not that I'm a Michigan fan anyway, But if the man's not dead, let's don't cry. Okay?
It was big.
Ugly cry, too.
Yep.
Ugly cry.
Alligator tears.
Yeah, it was,
Ugly cry and all the curse words. You know, we don't cuss around here. So
No.
that was a little bit offensive too. So one more. Stay in the truck.
stay in the truck.
That's it for this week's show. We really appreciate you tuning in. Please remember to like, subscribe, and leave us some comments. Let us know how we're doing. Stay in the truck.